And welcome back. And we are moving into our final segment for today. We are joined by a well-known face, Sharon Marin Lewis. And of course, we know Sharon in many different capacities. Today, we're talking to her as the author behind this book, Superstition, a Belizean Snapshot.
No problem.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marlene. Thank you, Kevin.
Mm-hmm. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on this great platform to share with the masses this book, this gift.
I just have to do the whole history because it's always fascinating, you know, life after the media. In fact, you never really stepped off. You kind of just moved off on your own.
No, I just kind of did media work in your waiting room, telling two people to be a little quiet. So I never left. I'm not leaving. It's in me.
So tell me about this transition and moving towards publishing your own books.
Okay, I wouldn't say it's a transition. I'd more say it's trying to do that complete 360 globe that you're creating. Mm-hmm. I know my talents, and writing is one of them. And I've always kicked myself for not writing enough. I'm working in the media. I did a lot of writing, but I wanted to do more creative, and I wanted to do something that really paid an ode to culture. And so I wouldn't call it transitioning because I still will continue doing media. Yeah. But stepping into the world of authoring is exciting and amazing. And I'm very, very happy that I was able to do it. This is actually the 1-year anniversary of the publication of the book. Yes.
Already?
Already. I self-published on Amazon.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that. Don't worry. But you know, and just to be clear, when I say transition, I mean there is a process that people go through to publish. Like there's writing, and then you know sometimes some people do public readings, but then documenting it, saying farewell to it, essentially saying I'm done with you. I'll let you go now. That is a transition.
That is a transition.
Yeah.
It's a crazy transition. Yeah. And I never really let go of this book. It was
you still read it and say, I should have, I could have.
I still read it and say, I should have, I could have. I'm sorry I picked it up after the editors went through it because I kind of made a little 1 or 2 mistakes. I have to print it over. But people have forgiven me for that, and I forgive myself too. But I must say that, let me thank the editors, Dr. Shamin Saunders and Mrs. Desiree Kane Arzu.
Can I jump in and say that, first of all, I love anything that comes from Belize. And I can tell it's a beautiful read. I completely enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I picked it up, you know, I was trying to do the university thing where you read the beginning and the end and the middle so you can look intelligent. And I found myself being unable to put it down. And when I was finishing up and I was reading the back portion I had about the author, and you were being very humble about it. It reminded us that this book spent quite a time as the #1 new release in the Caribbean and Latin American literature category on Amazon. And I can see why. I have so much questions. If you look at my copy of the book, I have side notes.
I know yours look as used as mine. And
but first, I want to start off by saying kudos to you for taking that step, because there's so much about Belize that could be written about. I can tell you about several other books that have been done by other people, which are important works for us. I wanted you to start off directly into your inspiration for it, because that was a very interesting story. Not to give away a piece of the book, but that's a very interesting story. No spoilers.
No spoilers. Mm-hmm. My inspiration for the book are my parents. I don't want to get broken up about it. I haven't since doing the media rounds, but I might today. My parents are very important to me. My dad isn't doing well, and so I dedicated it to them. I grew up on a lot of stories. My dad is a surveyor, so we traveled Belize a lot. The length and breadth, actually. And it was just fun. He told us so many stories. I shared one in there with him. So they're my inspiration, my parents.
Yeah.
And you know, as you look at the book, one of the things you spoke to in the book was how the similarities of the different cultures in Belize, of superstition, and how important. And if I could jump in here, because it's a very, I know it's an emotional thing for
Yes.
you.
I switched from happy to sad quickly. It's okay. I'm good.
But it's very interesting. And one of the things to me that struck out to me was you were making a distinction between people who are superstitious and people who are influenced by
Yes,
superstition.
Yes. And I have to say I'm influenced.
Yeah.
I'm not superstitious.
And could you
How
talk
do you
to us?
make this distinction?
Yes.
Let me tell you something. When you're superstitious, you're really bound to these actions by this belief that if you don't do it, whatever the consequences are will befall you. Now, I say I'm influenced because I only do it because of my mom and my dad. And sometimes I even forget, and I don't think bad things happen because I do. For example, one that I mentioned is in the book is when you're sweeping your house after 5 in the evening or when it's dark. You know, you're not supposed to sweep your dirt outside because you're sweeping out your luck and you're sweeping out the good things that should be in your house. You're supposed to sweep it in a dustbin and then put it in the garbage. Now, I do that sometimes, but sometimes I sweep out the dirt. I literally forget, and it's after I've done it that I remember, oh shucks.
There goes my luck.
There goes my luck. And, you know, so, but there are people who do it religiously. Like, in writing this book, I sat with my former stepmother, Miss Alice Burgess. She's Erwin X's mom. I'm pretty sure you know her. I sat with her for the better part of an afternoon. She's from the villages. She's very, you know, village life comes with a rich tale of stories. And so I sat with her grandkids in the front yard, and we just talked about the culture of superstition and how it came about. And then you find that before speaking to her, I sat and thought about it, and I said, superstition is used in a number of ways. One is to keep the adventurous at bay. One is to explain things that we can't explain. You know, there's so many other things, and then there are things that we really cannot explain. And so I said, you know what? Let me put this thing in a book. I have to do it.
Yeah. And there are so many.
There are many.
And what I find interesting is, how do you decide what's going to be included? You know, they're like the childhood ones that you're right. It was some people say, we don't know for sure, that it was just meant to keep the kids safe. You know, some of the old folklore was meant to not have drunken men wander about. You know,
yes.
but how did you make the decisions as to what you wanted to capture in the book? Okay,
when I first decided that I was going to write the book, I went to Facebook and I asked my friends, are they superstitious and what are their superstitions? It was just a simple question. I didn't expect to get the response I did, but wow, we had like so many, I think I had like over 500 responses.
Wow.
What was number one?
The babies, about babies and kids, you know, the bad eye, you know, about
red string.
Yes, that thing, and that is all over the globe, I think, that red string thing.
You call it a snapshot, but I found it quite comprehensive because every time I was reading and I said, but what about this one here? And then you come out after you hit it.
Yeah.
I wanted to know, and when you're doing the book and you're going through it, it's a very conversational piece. I feel like you're actually talking to me.
I am talking to you. That is why I made it that way, because I didn't want you to put it down. Would you stop talking to me if I'm talking to you?
No.
So I'm talking to you.
But you also went a bit further. There is some, you tried to go almost scientific. You did some historical research to the basis. How interesting was that? Going to the actual, because you made reference to, for example, lunar, in terms of babies and not having babies out.
NASA actually has a study because of the overwhelming questions they received about superstitions about babies and the lunar eclipse and the full eclipse, you know. So I know we have that superstition. You know, I've given birth to 3 beautiful human beings who I'm very proud of. Morning, guys. And when I became pregnant, like I mentioned in the book, I'm all over the place with superstition, you know. I was hiding from the moon, hiding from the eclipse, you know. I was not, you know, people couldn't see the baby. And then when I forgot and they did and the baby got sick, my mom would be like, see what I told you? It's bad eyes, you know. So the one with the baby was really, you know, one of the most popular ones that was with babies and birthing was one of the more popular ones that was brought up. But the Facebook response really Facebook is a big part of my life, you know, so I tend to ask provocative questions there. Some people hate me for it, some people love me for it, but it's just to get that feel. But when I asked that question, I got a lot of responses. I wrote them down on a paper, and then I got a book, and then I started writing them down in the book. And after writing them down, I started formulating the introduction. I said I was going to write a book. Yeah, but I had coffee with a friend, Imani Fairweather, and we were talking about superstition before our meeting started.
You didn't call her name in the book. You exposed something, no?
I exposed her. She's the friend. And when she's not here, but when we get together, we could talk for hours. And before we started talking about our business thing, we actually started talking about superstition. She had a purse holder. Marlene, you know what that is, right?
A purse holder, yes. The hooks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have one?
No.
Okay, so her superstition, and she doesn't mind me sharing
Because
this.
if you put it on the floor.
So she has a grand aunt or a relative who's older, who believes that you really shouldn't have your bag on the floor, and so she gifted it to Imani and I think several other female members of the family. And so when we were about to have coffee, Imani, she hollowed this thing, I slapped it on the table, and I'm like, what's that, girl? And she's like, that's a purse holder. I'm like, well, she said she was going to get me one. I still not get it yet, Imani, but
There you go.
I was really, because my mom always tells me about that. And I would try, like I said, you try remember.
When you remember, right?
But other times you just dash it then. You'll be like, I forgot about it. So really that was it.
What do you know, this is not just for a Belizean audience, and I think we need to be clear about that. But how do you write so that Belizeans appreciate it, but somebody who knows nothing of Belize, who just orders this book on Amazon because it's on one of the top lists, and how do you ensure that they will be able to connect with it?
I think the topic itself lends itself to it.
Yeah.
Superstition, like I started out saying, is universal. Any culture, any ethnic group, any country you go to, superstition is a part of their lives. And so I knew that the topic itself was gonna just grab people as well. But in writing, I ensured that I use language that we could appreciate, and I try to explain things that people who are not from our culture might not readily understand. So that's what I did. I was very mindful of that. It was kind of easy for me because I'm 44, and I've had a lot of experience with a range of people, dealing with foreigners, not to call them foreigners, but people who are not Belizeans, has been an easy thing for me. And so I think that helped me to be able to put it in the book as well.
The book has its own driving energy. That's the way I realize. But part of it, your personality comes out, because could you talk to us about some of the humor in the book? Because one of my favorite stories in the book, and I don't want to give it away because it's worth the read, is the superstition in relation to being swept on the feet.
Oh, that one.
I laughed for a very long time in relation to that. Could you talk to us about the humorous side of superstitions? Because you made a little bit light of it, but you also created some cures if you somehow went afoul of what these superstitions are. How did you balance the two?
Okay, so the humor came naturally. I sometimes have to hold myself back because there are some things that happen that are not funny, but you can find a funny comment in it. You know what I mean? Nothing bad by it. You know, so the humor came out naturally. I like talk fool. I like be funny. I think we spend a lot of time being sad, you know. So I like be humorous. So that part came out really. It came out naturally, and I just decided to write like I talk, kind of like you said. You say you felt that conversation, and so I just let it be a natural flowing book. And I wanted more people to read. And Santi bought a book. He told me that he doesn't really like and have time to read as much creatively or recreatively. But he messaged me and said, you know what? I started to read the book and it good. I mean, that's what he told me. So I was very excited because I didn't expect that feedback from him. And I said, he probably buy my book and stuff it in Wakana, you know. But the feedback from people has been overwhelming, and I'm really glad because that's the type of flow that I wanted to create in the book, you know. And I just said, let me do it like I'm talking to somebody. And then each step of the way, I read it to my husband. You know, there were some. He really was up with me some nights. You know, I work better at 2, 3 in the morning, so I'm up then reading and all that. And so I shared it with him, and he was a tester, and he liked it, so it was good.
Now, Sharon, oftentimes people see an accomplishment for the finished product, and being published is an accomplishment.
It is.
But there are challenges that go into it. You know, from making the decision to getting the support to finalizing the product. And getting to this place now, what do you think were some of your challenges where you almost didn't have this book in my hand?
Money.
Wow.
Money, but you can't let money stop you. You really, really can't, and this is what I keep telling people. I've left the media since 2015, and not left the media per se, but left official media. I was with Creme, as you know, for many years. And I left in 2015, but didn't leave media. You know, I launched my own talk show and all that. But you have to, money was really, if I let it, money could have been the thing that kept me back. And I read a thing on Forbes that said, don't let the lack of money let you have a bad day. Something to that effect. And I read it that day. I read it that day, and I went on Google, and I googled a question, something like, how do you publish if you don't have money, without a budget, you know, without money? And so this thing came up with KDP Publishing on Amazon, and so I started reading more. When you work for yourself and when you employ yourself, you can manage your time and you can mismanage your time. So I decided to manage my time, like I was really militant with it, and I spent a lot of time on the net reading up on how to self-publish, how to fix the book, because before that I'd called several publishers, but I didn't have the money to do it, you know. And even with this, I needed money to do it, but not as much as I would have needed if I had worked with a publisher. So after reading all the stuff I did on Google, I went to KDP, went to YouTube, watched videos, watched tutorials. I talked it over with myself. Consult myself a lot.
Good.
And after doing all that, I said, I can do this. This is very possible. I also went to the blogs where people talk about the bad things that happen when you do this, you know. And a year later, I have my first check from Amazon. It's not a huge check. It could be huger. I can't cash it yet because several banks, the bank that I bank with doesn't accept the check. So I have to open an account at another bank where they accept US checks, and then I'll deposit it. And then I have to additionally now figure out another way to receive payment because Amazon messaged me and said they're not sending any more checks. They're not paying out that way. They're going to do, you know, different methods that I don't have access to yet. So I have to work on that to be able to access my money.
So
but they gave me a year.
The business side is building after the business.
Yes,
is launched.
yes.
Yeah.
I self-published on the 23rd of September last year. Yes.
1 year later.
When I did it, when I saw the thing, I never know how to do, you know. Honestly, I had to watch it. I had to watch the thing. I like, so it says it's live. Does this mean that people can buy it? I went on the thing. I told my friend, I wrote a book. You should buy it. She was like, you wrote a book? I said, I told you I was going to write a book. She said, yes. I said, well, I'll buy it. I said, you have your credit card ready? Morning, Karen Brown. And she bought the book.
And then you saw one.
I saw one, yeah. And then I posted it to Facebook, and people were telling me I'm going to buy the book, and I saw 2, 3, and I kept following the report, and I was like, this is good. I just have to keep promoting it.
Yeah.
And then when I saw it was #1, I was extremely happy because the only way it could be #1, #1 is not only dependent on sales. If it were, I would not be #1 because it depends on the amount of people who read the book. Because you could review it. You can go there and read the first few pages.
Okay.
And the amount of attention it gets, so the amount of hits it gets.
Okay.
That also adds to it.
How many people search for it?
How many
too?
people search for it? How many people bought it is important.
Yeah.
But how many people search for it? How many people? I did a different arrangement with with Kindle, where you can read a few pages and you can pay for pages as well. So if you want to pay for a 50 page and finish read the book, that's your business. Or you could buy the whole book. You can also lend the book with the Kindle. So it's available in ebook and paperback format online. But like I said, when the money would have kept me back, but I went online and I did my research, and then I realized I could do this. Now, to get the book in Belize, that they were part of PodCommune, in doing that, I literally asked people for money. I asked them to support me, and some of them I have to deliver books for them. I tell them, come for one book or two for me, because that's my token of appreciation. We all need help. I know that I have helped people before, and I'm so humble that I could ask for help and not feel badly. If I was not humble, this book would not be here.
Because it takes work to market yourself.
It takes work.
Well, I got mine from Image Factory Bookstore, but where else is it available?
It's available with me only, and that's because, and I'm not trying to bring any bad light on anybody, but I have to be real. The percentage I am giving to anyone who sells my book has to be reasonable for me. Image Factory is the only place that has been reasonable with me, and I like to really extend my gratitude to them. I think that they're a beacon to artists and authors, you know, and they really support this field that is under-supported. We had Literacy Week, and I barely saw anything on it. I'm intending to do something after since celebrations is over now, but we have an issue with reading and comprehending and all that. And that is why I made the book so small. 100 pages. What's your excuse for not reading 100 pages?
Yeah, and the font is rather large.
The font is large. I did it for people who...
In your introduction you said, I'm not going to go deep in this book, and you italicized this. Is there a Snapshot part 2?
It's a big story because I really didn't want to just do superstition. I wanted to do superstition, obia, and spiritualism. Obia is a big part of Belizean culture. It's a big part of our African ancestry. And sometimes when we don't know things, we fear it and we give it a bad name. And I was looking up these things, you know, spiritualism and voodoo and those types of things. And so I wanted to do an all-encompassing book on those topics. I had intended to go to Corozal, PG, you know, the capital of these places that have this, you know. But I tried to partner with different entities in Belize, and it wasn't working out. So I said, you know what? This book will fund the other books that I will write. So that's why I only did this.
So what's been the response so far for the book?
Man, I want to tell you this, Marlene, I'm so happy. Like, I'm really, really happy. Kevin, just telling me, I appreciate what you're telling me, you know, that you appreciate, that you liked the book, that you enjoyed it.
The feedback.
The feedback is amazing.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank Miss Salome Tillit at SCA. They are the first school that have taken the book and said they would use it in their classrooms. So she bought a number of copies from me, which really helped me in, you know, putting some money towards some other things. So I also like to thank the Embassy of Washington, Embassy of Belize in Washington, Miss Arlette Gomez. They also got some copies, and I'm working with other embassies to see about getting it out there. I wanted to get it into the airport, the airstrip, all the places that I could get it into. So the tour is very slow. I finally made it to Open Your Eyes, because I've been touring like I don't want, and 2 months later I go find that out. You know, I don't want to think, but I try to make it to everybody, and I really appreciate it.
Because it takes, you know, and I really appreciate you saying that, because we find that so often when people come here, there's work involved that we don't talk about, you know, and it takes a commitment and a drive.
Listen, you have to wear blinders. When I was writing my book, you know, you don't have money, and people say, well, it shocks you to write a book and you don't have money, you don't have time for that. You know, you have to hustle out there, you have to go do this and do that. Then you try to do other things, but if you really want to do something and you believe that you can do it, don't make nobody stop you. Don't make nobody stop you. Just do it.
I have a niece like that who's also doing the same thing. I know Marlene asked you to read a section, but if you'd allow me to ask you to read.
No, she has to choose her own. That's the benefit of an author. No. The author has to choose her own one, because that's insightful on its own.
Well, if you allow me to have you comment on number 25, and if I could read it, I'm a horrible reader. I'm dyslexic, but I will try.
So and Marlene, I didn't mind because you asked me if I had thought of something to read, and I didn't.
Yeah, but I want to see instinctively what you go to. That's where the insight is. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about
Number 25.
Number
At
25.
page 85. This was my favorite. I circled it and put LOL beside it.
What if I told you that there was a way to guarantee that your man doesn't lie to you? I bet you would want to know what it is, Kevin. And try it. Well, I'm sorry. I do not have a way for that to happen. But superstitious people believe they do. According to the superstitious, if you drink the remaining water in the cup left by your man, he won't be able to lie to you. So if you give him a cup of water and he didn't drink all,
And you finish it?
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard that one before.
That's why I circled it.
Never. That's interesting. So go ahead.
All right.
Pick
so
the one that stands out to you, connects with you, just you enjoy, whatever.
All right. I'll do the one with the baby because I really like that one. I think that is in chapter. Okay, here it is. We're talking about the lunar eclipse, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, the belief. My mother made it a point. I'm at page 16. My mother made it a point to remind me about the harm an eclipse could do to her unborn grandchild. The stories alone put tremendous dread in me, and when I didn't forget, I made it a point to note the eclipse. You see, even before dreaming of becoming a mother, I had heard stories of babies born with cleft lips and other serious disfiguration because they're careless, in quotes, mothers exposed themselves while pregnant to a total eclipse. The belief is that the total eclipse emits harmful rays of energy that permeates the womb and unleashes its fury on the gestating fetus, causing unimaginable deformities. At the time, I did not try to do any research on this phenomenon. I simply took it at face value and decided that I would not take any chances that would result in my child being deformed. Thankfully, the child was born without deformities. This superstition is so popular that it is included on NASA's website under Eclipse Misconceptions. You can check it out for yourself at eclipse2017nasa.gov.
Interesting.
You know, one of the things in the book, the snapshots that you have there, and I think you dealt with it tangentially, was the relationship between superstition and the church. Mm-hmm. Would you have gone deeper into it if you had more space and time?
I would.
And what direction would you have taken it? Do you think it's a healthy marriage between superstitions and the church?
I never look at things as healthy and unhealthy when it comes to superstitions. Beliefs. At one point, they would say it was a great thing when this belief was practiced or when that belief was practiced. No, it's horrible. No, it's terrible. No, it's evil. But I would have gone further because I went to a Catholic primary school, Catholic high school, so that was indoctrinated in me. And I recall going to confession at St. Joseph and actually having to make up lies because I couldn't think of the sins that I did. You're supposed to go there with at least 5 sins, you know what I mean? I probably sinned more than 5 times, but I couldn't remember at the time.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, so I'd say I didn't do my homework, I lied to my mom, I took shilling off the counter, I didn't go to church, but I said I did, make up my own thing just to make them get off my back. And somebody had told me, well, when we were younger, somebody had tried to convince me that the devil would visit me one night for doing that, Mm-hmm. And I just thought about how we let religion is really powerful. It is one of the most, people die for it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
People die for it. And so I would have gone a lot further, but I really more wanted to go into, I wrote in there a little bit about Obia.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned something that sounds like superstition, but it's actually Obia. So, but when I wrote that, I thought about the symbolism behind a lot of these superstitions that we have. They were a way to make our lives better too. Mm-hmm. With some of them that we practice. So, and protection.
Yeah.
So I would definitely have gone further. This is a snapshot. I want to do one that's focused on the workers of these things,
mm-hmm.
the Obia workers and the voodoo workers. And so I know a lady who, she is a voodoo worker. It's called, the voodoo work she does is called Santeria. Mm-hmm. And this is from New Orleans, Mm-hmm. So these are things that are actually happening, I am very interested. I've never obiad anybody, want to obiad
That's really
anybody.
illegal, you know.
Illegal?
Yeah, there's a. I
Where?
remember some years ago, somebody was charged with in Thai with obiang somebody.
I did not
Yes,
know
yes,
that.
yes,
And the
yes.
legislation says obia.
The legislation, I think, I'm not sure what the legislation says, what the exact
Okay.
wording is, but I'm sure that there's an
Which-
offense for.
Well,
Yes, yes, yes.
so if
There you go.
so after this speakeasy.
There's a news
The
item on
light
it.
bulb went off just now in
There's
her
a
head,
news
and she's
item on it.
starting on
There's a news item
that
on it.
part of the story. But in the meantime, you know, Sharon, it's great having you here, just getting
Awesome.
just a
Awesome stuff.
tidbit of the backstory.
Yes.
And I really appreciate you coming in and sharing your honest reflections on getting the book out and why it was important to you. Lastly, just tell us, you know, where we can get it, what do we search for, how do we contact you?
All right, so to get the book, if you're abroad, not in Belize, the country, it's best to go on Amazon and get it. You can get it in ebook or paperback format. I think paperback is good. So even if you get the ebook, plan to get the paperback now.
Yeah.
And then for people in Belize, it's available at Image Factory. The minute they say they've run out, I have some more to give them. And it's also available with me. You can WhatsApp your order to 6680502. That's especially for people who are not in Belize City. And then we can arrange sending it by BPMS or Tropic Air or one of them place. After try to work out a deal with them, they're gonna kill me with the freight. But I usually send books via the airline, sorry. The way I call it small
The
things.
airstrip, yeah.
Yeah, the airstrip. And then the BPMS service, the bus service. So you can WhatsApp your order to 6680502 and take it from there if you're outside of Belize City.
And the cost of the book?
It's only $30.
Yeah, well worth
It's
it.
only $30. You can WhatsApp if you're in a city too, it no matter. But
Yeah.
you can also go to Image Factory because they're open at a specific time. You know.
Or they can find you on Facebook too.
And yes, I also want to say, hey, listen, I have to say a big thank you to a friend of mine who
Okay.
does great work for me. His name is Greg Godfrey. I promise Greg when I get rich, I'm going to write him a check.
Yeah.
I also want
He's
to
going to remind you, you know.
Yeah, I know Greg.
Okay, I know Greg will, right? But Greg helped me a lot with imagery that I
Yeah.
needed to do, you know. So I really appreciate that. And I have a book from I have to drop it at your house. And I want to thank every single person who has contributed to, you know, this Cruffy Life movement. Oh, and this is
Her clothing line.
my clothing line. Check it out on Facebook, Cruffy Life. Get your own.
Yeah. Thank you so
Thank you
much,
both.
Sharon.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. We're going to go ahead now and take our final break, though, and when we come back, we'll have our wrap up, so stay tuned.